We are starting our Greek vase today, and we're going to start by making a pattern for the shape of the vase. So this pattern will be symmetrical. So we are going to fold our paper to cut out a pattern that is the same on both sides. Your vase can be wide or it can be tall. We looked at a couple of patterns on the smartboard, and those are up for you to look at after the video. So I'm going to think about a pattern, and I can look at the board or I can make my own, but I'm trying to make it quite large, so I'm starting towards the top of this paper by the fold. So not on the loose sheet side, on the fold. And I'm going to make a vase that maybe has a rectangular top, and it might come down. I'm going to get a little handle on that vase, so it kind of looks like a backwards C. And I'm going to have this vase come down. At the bottom, kids oftentimes kind of make it go to a point, but a vase would never be able to balance on a single point. So I'm going to round this. Maybe I'll give it a flat rectangular edge at the bottom. So this line down here should be long and straight, so it looks like your vase could sit on the table. I am going to give this an inside negative space hole. So I'll show you what that means in a second. With my paper folded, I'm going to cut from that fold line on my pencil drawing as best as I can. So this vase is quite large. It almost takes up the whole paper. Nothing super little. When I open it up, voila, same on both sides. So I do want to cut those handles out, and there's a couple ways to do that. I think the safest way is to start with a pencil and take the pencil and just poke a hole in that space you want to cut out. Then you can safely put your scissors in there and cut that negative space. That means it's a hole, there's nothing there. There it is. Now I have this awesome symmetrical stencil that I am going to put onto my white tag board. So I'm going to center that as best as possible, and I am just going to use my pencil, and I'm going to trace around the stencil. The next step will be adding color, and there's a couple of tricks to add the color. You can decide if you want to keep your colors neutral, meaning peach, black, brown, white, or you could decide to do a pattern of bright colors, or you could decide to just use as many colors as you'd like. So I kind of have an idea. I know I just mentioned that black would be an option, but you do not want to color with black at all, because that is going to be the top that we scratch off. So if that doesn't make sense right now, it will shortly. So what I'm going to do is, with the oil crayons, I am going to press super dark. And you might even go over that pencil line that you made. It might be hard for you to see it, but we'll fix that later. So if you notice, I am going outside the lines, not doing my best coloring at all. That's good. I want it to go outside the lines. I want to be able to see where that color is on the outside. As I'm coloring, I am trying to hide the white. So this kind of coloring where I see a lot of white in between is not going to work for the scratch art part of this project. So I am coloring super hard. If you accidentally break oil crayons today, that's okay, it might happen. So I am using a lot of colors, and I am still making sure that my color goes outside the lines, and I'm making sure that my color touches the color that I just put on. So I would suggest doing stripes today. Oops, I broke that one. Or rows. So these are at least 1 finger thick. If you want to have a row that's a little bit thicker, 2 fingers maybe, that's awesome. But you want to have stripes all the way down your vase of color. So I'm going to continue, and when I come back, I'm going to be on to the next part. So I have filled the vase up with color. Color dark, tried to get all those white spots to disappear. So before you go on to using the black oil crayon, I would just double check that you have colored as dark as you can in the spots on the vase. Now, this is going to seem crazy, but I'm going to cover the entire vase with black oil crayon. So I'm going right on top of the colors I just put on. So again, oops, broke that. I'm coloring dark. As I'm putting this black on, you can't really see the colors underneath. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek before I continue of what this is going to do. We are going to be taking scratch tools and we are going to be scratching the black off. So you will be able to see the color underneath if you color hard enough. If you go fast and have a lot of white and then go fast with the black and you can still see white, when you scratch, you're not going to be able to see what you're scratching. The harder you can press, the cooler it's going to look. So I'm going to cover this in black, and when I come back, I'll be ready to do my scratch art. Alright, I am messy with this black. So as I was working, I kind of was thinking ahead and thinking, you know what? I probably should have outlined my vase that I had drawn in pencil. Because I did not do that around the whole vase, I'm going to start by lining this tracer up and scratching the outline of my vase again. So I think this is going to be the way everyone's going to want to start. I especially want to start this way because I covered up all of the outline of my vase. So as I'm doing this, you can see that I have color on the outside of my paper. This is good. I'm going to keep that color there. I'm not going to cut this vase out till the very end. That color is going to help me with my scratch art. It's going to show me where the rows of color are, so I know where to put the rows of designs that I made. Here's what I mean. Purple. So here's this awesome purple color. I am going to outline that row, and I am going to start a pattern. So it can be a pattern you've made up from your head, or it could be a pattern from one of the pattern sheets. So Greek art, we looked at some of the pictures on the smartboard. They did not have an alphabet like we have. So their alphabet was pictures and symbols. I'm going to color that in. Cool thing about this part is if you make a mistake, we're just going to use a black oil crayon to color that in. So I'm going to start with maybe a design that is very geometric and looks like a square. So I am doing this in a row across the purple color of my vase. Now with scratch art, the more you scratch, the neater it's going to look. So I am going to make these lines a little bit thicker so you can see the color purple better. That's looking pretty cool. So I'm going to continue that, and that shows up much better than those skinny lines. So on this first day of working, I think that many of you will start the designing part, the scratching part. You might get 1 or 2 rows done. I don't want you to rush on this. This is going to be some of your best work that's going to hang up in the hallway for everyone to see. So I'm going to continue on that row, and then I can look, there's my blue row, so I'm going to outline that blue row, and I'm going to put another design underneath it. So maybe this one is going to be full of circles. It's a pattern. It's repeating all the way across. I am not drawing my name. I'm not drawing SpongeBob. I'm not making McDonald's or Nike symbols. I am thinking about Greek art long time ago. And they knew geometric shapes, simple patterns that you would find on this sheet. So I'm going to continue, and this will be something that we continue into day 2. So my designing scratch art is finished, and as you can take a close look at this, sometimes I kept my lines really thin, sometimes I scratched more in some areas, but I have rows of patterns that repeat all the way down to the bottom. So I am going to cut this out, and depending on our time on day 2, we might have an additional step in this project. So for sure, we want our vases cut out really nicely. Try to avoid having any extra white scraps around the edge. If your name tag is not on this project, you're going to need to find it at Mrs. Cleary's table and tape it to the bottom of the vase. If there is time on the second art day, we might create a pillar to put these on. But no matter what, we want to have our vase finished before that would happen. So, a completed vase, full of design, scratched awesome. And remember, if you make mistakes, the black oil crayon will cover them right back up. So you can hide any oopses that you have. I'm going to use this scratching tool and poke holes in those handles. I'm going to cut those out, and I am finished with my Greek vase. So at this time, you will definitely need to wash your table spot, get all those oil crayon crumbs in the garbage, and wash your hands.